Today I'm going to give you landing spot rankings for the 2026 Dynasty rookie class. Now we've got a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. Let's jump right in here with the wide receiver groups. And the bottom tier I'm going to highlight first. This D tier is actually mostly good offenses. You have some high-powered offenses here, the Lions, the Bengals, the Bears, and the Jaguars. A lot of really good offenses here. So you would think it would be a good landing spot for wide receivers, but they are just crowded wide receiver rooms. You have depth at wide receiver, young players at wide receiver ascending. You think with the Jaguars and Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, both great young wide receivers, and with them being so young and under contract for an extended period of time now, and the ceilings they have, adding another wide receiver is very likely to offer many targets for that new wide receiver on the team. And not just in the rookie season, but into the future. The other team's pretty obvious. The Bears have invested heavily at their pass-catching positions. The Bengals have locked up T. Higgins and Jamar Chase long-term. So adding a wide receiver into these rooms is not going to be a great option for your fantasy teams. Now, the outlier here is obviously the Jets. The Jets are often an outlier in these scenarios. Not a good offense, and not a good situation quarterback coaching wise. This team is just such a disaster. Sorry, Jets fans, that you don't want to see a wide receiver prospect going here. Add in that Garrett Wilson is pretty clearly atop the depth chart here, and you're going to have a hard time finding enough targets in this offense to be fantasy relevant, barring a significant shift in this Jets team. All right, moving up to the next tier of wide receiver landing spots. This is our C tier. We have I've broken it into three groups, I'd say. You've got your crowded wide receiver rooms on a good offense, but there's possibly room for that depth chart to ease up a little bit. In there, I'd go with the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Chargers. I'm thinking some older aging receivers, Keenan Allen, A.J. Brown, that could be on their way out of those teams. The Chiefs, Xavier Worthy may end up being more of a gadget guy than they'd hoped, and that could open up a wide receiver 2 spot, along with Travis Kelce probably retiring in the near future. The Cowboys, if George Pickens does get franchise tagged or extended long term, then this becomes a much more difficult conversation. But that Cowboys offense, that passing offense, can be so high powered that even if Pickens is franchise tagged, there's still some hope about the future of a wide receiver drafted having a long term potential as the wide receiver 2 beside CeeDee Lamb there. The second group here would be these mediocre offenses with a little bit more room on the depth chart for an incoming rookie wide receiver to make a name for themselves. I'm thinking here the Texans, the Cardinals, the Dolphins. The Texans, obviously, Nico Collins is pretty solidified in that top spot, but neither Jaden Higgins or Jalen Noel have really separated as rookies so far, and Tank Dell, we don't really know coming back from that injury what his level of play will be like. The Cardinals obviously have Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride as their top receiving options right now, but I wouldn't say that having a wide receiver 2 on the team would be an absolute negative for fantasy. There's still some potential there for a rookie wide receiver to break in as a wide receiver 2 on this squad. And then you over to the Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, who knows if he even plays again. Such a serious injury at his age. We don't know if he'll return, if he returns, at what level. So you're really just looking at Jalen Waddle ahead on the depth chart, but there's obviously questions with Tua, with this coaching staff, around just how effective this offense can be in the future. The last grouping of this tier would be just the really big questions on offense. Here I have the Steelers, the Panthers, the Browns. Obviously the Steelers, DK Metcalf there, but then we don't know what holds for the future at quarterback in Pittsburgh. The Panthers, kind of the same question around Bryce Young, who really knows. We have Ted McMillan obviously leading that receiving group, so it's not wide open. But questions around how this offense will perform, quarterback questions, and the Browns are just obvious quarterback questions. There's no knowledge of who the quarterback will be for the Browns next year. Probably a rookie, maybe they bring in a vet. Just a lot of uncertainty there. Now moving up to our B tier, and this is where I'd say we're looking at a neutral landing spot. You're not upset about your a wide receiver landing here, but it's also not going to raise their profile significantly. In this tier, you can see the good offenses in this tier probably have some competition in their wide receiver room, not the clearest path, whereas those offenses that are more bottom half of the league are going to have some wide open situations for a wide receiver incoming to take over that room. Now, this is also probably the tier where I see the most ability for them to shift up or down. A couple teams that could really make a move up are the Rams. If they draft a first-round quarterback in the draft this year, I'll be more confident about the future there. Obviously, Puka Nacua is still the wide receiver one on that squad, which limits somewhat the upside. But you have Devontae Adams is turning 33 in December. He is not the future at that wide receiver 2 position for the team, and I'm very confident that Sean McVay will figure things out post Matthew Stafford for the Rams. Also, the Bucks fall into that tier. Mike Evans getting older. We don't know what Godwin's going to look like coming back from his injury. Obviously, Egbuka has been very good, but Baker Mayfield has also been very good over multiple years now for the Buccaneers, and I expect an extension to be coming soon for Baker, and that would mean that there's still some room on this offense, and they could move up with just how effective they've been passing the ball. All right, now into the A tier. This is where you're really interested as a landing spot for your fantasy rookie wide receivers. This is if you see on draft night one of the wide receivers you're eyeing go to one of these teams, they are going to be moving up your draft board. So first here I have the Commanders, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, both aging wide receivers. There's not really a future here for Deebo Samuel. He's mostly on a 1-year prove-it deal. So not a whole lot of competition there if they do invest in wide receiver in the draft. Terry McLaurin is 30 years old now, suffering multiple kind of complicated soft tissue injuries here. So we don't know what his future on this team will be, even though he just signed that big extension. And the key part here is you're pairing this young rookie wide receiver with Jaden Daniels, with a premier young quarterback talent. Obviously, there's been a little bit of a step back with the injuries and the injuries around him this year for Jaden Daniels, but I am still confident that this is a premier young quarterback talent in the NFL and someone that you want to pair a young rookie wide receiver with. Next up in this A tier is the Denver Broncos, and that is a very similar argument to the Commanders. Replace Terry McLaurin with Courtland Sutton, replace Jaden Daniels with Bo Nix. Now, obviously, I'm still going to consider Jaden Daniels to be a higher tier caliber passer than Bo Nix, but Bo Nix has looked very good in his own right, and you add in Sean Payton, the consistency that he brings as the head coach from an offensive play calling perspective, and I think the Broncos deserve to be up in this tier with the Commanders. And last in this A tier is the San Francisco 49ers. There's a lot of question marks in this wide receiver room. Brandon Ayuk, there were questions even before the injury of whether he could withstand the efficiency that he'd seen the prior couple of years. Then you add in the injury, slow recovery from that. That only makes these questions more difficult to ponder. So then after Ayuk, we have rookie Pearsall. Just hasn't been healthy enough to really make an evaluation on. I really like Pearsall, but we haven't seen him produce consistently enough because of these injuries. And at this point, he is becoming a bit of an injury-prone receiver. And there's questions around how often he'll be on the game day roster with those injuries. And then obviously CMC running back, but he is probably the wide receiver one for this team right now. But he's going to be 30 at the start of next season, and his combination of heavy workloads and soft tissue injuries, ligament injuries over his career mean that we don't know how long he has left in the league to play at a high level. And even before that inevitable drop-off, we could see the 49ers start to limit his workload more, especially in the passing game too. Where a new wide receiver could really help lower the need to rely on him so heavily. Now, the 49ers probably have more complications, more talent around the skill positions already than some of these other teams in this high tier. But the reason I have the 49ers up this high is Kyle Shanahan. This coaching staff has shown time and time again that they can put together a great offense no matter the injuries, no matter the personnel. They've just been that consistent, that good. We have Mac Jones looking like an all-pro quarterback at times here in San Francisco. So once Purdy is back and healthy, if you bring in a highly drafted wide receiver into this room, I am going to be very excited about them from a fantasy perspective. Okay, now it's time for the two elite landing spots, the S-tier landing spots for wide receivers in this year's class. And that are two AFC East squads, the Bills and the Patriots. So the Bills, since Stephon Diggs has left the Bills, there's been a big gap at that wide receiver one spot for the team. They've obviously taken an approach. They've said publicly, we don't need a dominant wide receiver one. This is a committee approach. Well, that experiment of a wide receiver one by committee seems to have failed in their eyes, as they were trying pretty hard to get Jalen Waddle at the deadline this year. They were offering a 2027 first rounder for Waddle. The Dolphins rebuked that, but that shows that they are willing to spend draft capital on a top wide receiver to take that spot. And this is a year where there are a lot of good wide receivers that could fill into that wide receiver one spot. And if any of those top wide receivers make their way down to the Bills in the draft, I think that is such a good landing spot that it could leapfrog them ahead of the other wide receivers that go earlier in the first round. And I think that the landing spot can just outweigh that draft capital consideration for these rookie wide receivers. And it's pretty simple. You're competing with Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, the 50% of snaps that they let Kincaid play, and you're pairing that with Josh Allen at quarterback. Now, the second team here is the New England Patriots. Now, this would not have been the case at the beginning of the year, but here we are, and Drake May has been unlocked. Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels coming in, this new coaching staff, have made Drake May look exactly like what people saw he had the potential for in college. Now, it's kind of funny that Stephon Diggs falls into both of the stories of these two elite landing spots. Diggs now a Patriot. Obviously the top wide receiver right now in this New England room, or if you had to pick one, he would be the number one wide receiver. But at this point in his career, that's not saying a whole lot. There's also the ability for the Patriots to move on at the end of the season from Diggs. They have the choice for either about a $10 million cap hit, dead cap, by cutting Diggs, or you pay him $26 million in cap hit next year to be a wide receiver for your team. If they are making an investment on a top wide receiver in this class, I think Diggs just becomes a luxury at that cost, and they probably cut him, and you have a very clear path to a top fantasy wide receiver paired up with an ascending young talent like Drake May. All right, now moving over to the running back landing spots. So in this first tier here, we have pretty much just running back rooms with an elite leader already. And even beyond having that elite top running back on the squad, there's not really a space for a great handcuff behind them as well. That's why they're in this bottom tier. If one of the running backs you're very interested in lands on one of these teams, it's really a nightmare scenario. For fantasy, they're going to fall way down boards. And you see one team that kind of stands out a little bit that doesn't fit into that description, and that would be the New York Giants. Now, maybe they don't stick out to you based on your evaluation of Cam Skattebo early in his career. Now, I think he's shown enough that he is a very good running back and probably a very good starting running back in the NFL. But add in that you have Tyrone Tracy, who's not a bad running back in his own right there. And this offense, there's just a lot of questions about how high-powered of an offense they really can be. And I think this landing spot would just be a nightmare for a fantasy running back as well. Now moving up to the C tier, not a landing spot you want, but a little bit better. A lot of these teams have an entrenched running back starting that's probably not going to be overcome. Maybe Jeremiah Love in this class could overtake some of these running backs. But even if he does get drafted to a team in this tier, you're going to be pretty upset because there's going to be a timeshare there where you're expecting Jeremiah Love right now to be a workhorse back. So not a lot of room in this tier to earn a starting role outside of maybe the Jets. I don't see Breece coming back this next season. I see him leaving in the offseason. And there's still Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen there that could definitely compete with a rookie running back for touches. But really, it's just that this Jets offense is in such a terrible spot right now that a rookie running back coming into this room, Breece Hall is an amazing talent, and we've seen him struggle with inconsistency in this offense. Bring in a rookie, and I am just not confident in their fantasy performance early in their career. All right, moving up to the C tier. This is again where we're kind of neutral in the landing spot. This isn't going to hurt their stock very much come rookie draft season, but it's also not going to boost them landing on one of these teams. Now, I kind of categorize these ones into two different groupings. The first being there's an opening for that starting running back spot on the team, but not the most potent offenses. And then also there's some competition for a starting job. They wouldn't be handed the starting job right away necessarily, but joining an offense that has the potential to be very good and bring fantasy success to whoever is that starting running back. I think you can probably figure out where the teams fit between those two categories, but generally I'd say that opening for the starting job, but not a great offense, would be the Saints, the Titans, the Cardinals, the Steelers. And then the teams where there's a little more competition for that starting job, but the offense is projected to be much better. The Broncos, 49ers, Ravens, Vikings, and I even include the Panthers in here, not because the Panthers offense looks like it's going to be great, but just because this Panthers offense or running offense has just been so good with their coaching staff with Dave Canales. He's always had a good running game on his teams, and between Rico Dowdle, a free agent, Chuba Hubbard hasn't looked great this season, and Jonathan Brooks, who knows, he hasn't played in the NFL to this point, 2 years into his career. There is a sliver of an opening there. All right, let's move up to the fun landing spots here, the A-tier landing spots, where I'm going to be moving players up my board if they land there as a running back. Now, again, in this tier, like with wide receiver, we have the Commanders. A running QB's impact on a fantasy running back can be a little contentious. I think that generally there's a bit of good, a bit of bad, and it depends on the specific quarterback to tell how that's going to work. Sometimes running quarterbacks can reduce check down opportunities, that pass catching aspect in your PPR leagues. That can hurt them because they are more prone to just using their legs to pick up yards instead of checking it down. Also worrying about quarterbacks running at the goal line and taking away touchdown opportunities from the running back. Jaden Daniels isn't a Jalen Hurts or a Josh Allen. He's not running in a lot of touchdowns at the goal line. So that's not really a worry with the Commanders. And while you may lose some on checkdowns, Daniels isn't a huge checkdown to the running back kind of quarterback because of his running ability. The Commanders use a ton of screens, a ton of design passes to the running backs, and just the added room that you get, the added efficiency when a defense has to key in on the quarterback, on his ability to run, to take away some weight on that defense away from the running back. Now, I like JCM, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He's a very fun running back. I think he could have a good future in this league. And really, I don't think the Commanders are going to spend their limited draft capital on the running back position with JCM already there. But if they do invest a day 2 selection or a first round pick on a running back, I think it's pretty clear that the 7th round rookie in JCM is not going to have a great chance to win the starting job over that high draft capital investment player. Next up, I have the Houston Texans here. Now, Woody Marks has done really well filling in while Joe Mixon has been injured, and we really don't know what's going on with Joe Mixon. I'm not super confident that he's going to play again in the NFL, and if he does, probably not at a high level at his age and the wear and tear he has on his body. But really, no one's confusing Woody Marks with an elite running back in the NFL. I think his role with the team for the future is still more of a third down pass catching role type of running back than an every down rusher. Now, overall, the offense seems to be clicking for the Texans again. The offensive line seems to be improving, getting things together. Their new offensive coordinator seems to start gelling into this offense. And obviously, you have a franchise quarterback in CJ Stroud here with the Texans. So if you add in a great running back, a good rookie running back to this squad, I think they have the potential to be a top 12 running back for fantasy. Add in that this Texans defense is just absolutely great. It's going to put the team in a lot of situations where they can run the ball. They can stick to the run. They're not behind in game scripts and have to air the ball out. And that will bode well for the starting running back for this team, whoever it is. Next in this tier, I have the Jaguars. This is really about Liam Cohen. His running offenses have been great. He seems to have revived the career of Travis Etienne, who's been horribly inefficient prior to this year. But now with this running scheme, there's just open lanes all the time. It's very fun to watch this team's running game. I don't think they're going to bring him back at this point. He's probably earned a starting job elsewhere. He's probably one of the top free agent running backs coming into this offseason. But I think with the Jaguars already having invested a draft pick in Bashal Tutin, who I really like, but if the Jaguars do go and add another running back in this draft, especially a higher draft capital running back, then I really think that Tutin could fall more into a change of pace role as a running back, and I really just want any piece of this Liam Cohen running game. And if that happens to be a rookie running back, then I'm going to want to get my hands on them, and I'm going to consider that a plus landing spot for fantasy. Now, last in this tier, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Chase Brown has looked really good. I really like Chase Brown as a running back, but he's a fifth-round selection. He's coming up on the last year of his rookie contract. The Bengals could, if they do make a selection at running back with one of their earlier picks, I think that will be the running back of the future, not Chase Brown. Now, I think it's very unlikely that the Bengals make a selection of running back in the draft. I don't think they should. Chase Brown is good enough. Deal with that problem when it comes of his contract being up. And it would just be a luxury pick at this point with how many holes they have on the defense and on the offensive line. All right, now I have 3 teams in this S tier, in this elite tier of landing spot for running backs. And they are high-powered offenses with no real competition on the depth chart for that running back 1 spot. Now, first here I have the Bears. Neither Swift nor Monangai has really shown out enough to win the role for the future. Monangai was always a long shot, a late round selection, but he's looked okay as a complementary back to Swift. Swift has looked exactly like he's looked his entire career, has explosive big runs, but just not consistent enough between the tackles to be your starting running back. But Ben Johnson has really revitalized this offense. It's a high-powered offense now, and I only expect it to continue to prove as Caleb Williams and this team as a whole gets used to his new system, and even Ben Johnson gets used to being that head coach spot and implementing his offense more fully going into next season. So if they do select a running back in this year's class, one of those top 4 or 5 running backs in this class, I think they are very well primed to take over as not only the lead back for this team, but the clear lead back and on an explosive, exciting offense. Next here, in this tier, we have the Chiefs. I still hold out some hope that Pacheco can turn things around, but if the Chiefs do bring in any competition for Pacheco beyond like a 7th round pick, like what they did this year with Rashad Smith, I don't think that Pacheco is going to hold on to that job, and Kareem Hunt absolutely isn't playing a role much longer on any NFL team at his age. And it goes without saying that the Chiefs are just a great offense in the NFL. Adding a running back to this team, they have returned to their high-powered ways that we saw a few seasons ago, and with that, I think any running back that takes over this starting job is going to be very good for fantasy. Now, if that running back happens to be a talented, young, explosive running back, then we're talking about top 12 running back week in and week out for fantasy. Now, finally here, we have the team that has been probably the top landing spot for a running back in the draft, I think 3 years running now, ever since Tony Pollard left, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. Their offensive line has gone through some shifts over the last few years, but still an above average unit, I would say. And this offense is just high powered, explosive. Dak at quarterback, you have CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, even now George Pickens. This offensive unit has just always run very well and gives a lot of touchdown opportunities for their running backs. And we've seen Javonte Williams take full advantage of that this year. A really good fantasy running back. Despite not necessarily looking like the best running back. And for that reason, I don't see him being the running back of the future for the Cowboys, especially if they make a significant investment at the running back position in this draft. Now, Javonte Williams has shown that you throw any running back into this backfield and a part of this offense, and they are going to be fantasy relevant just because of the touchdown upside. Now, put in an explosive young rookie running back that's talented, and you're talking about a top 5 running back for Dynasty, a top 5 fantasy running back week in and week out. Now we move over to the most important position for the NFL and possibly the most important for your Superflex Dynasty leagues as well. Obviously, the quarterbacks. Now, this first tier we have here, our D tier, not even going to bother here. These are the franchise quarterback teams. There's no reason for them to draft a quarterback highly, and any quarterback that gets drafted to these teams, there's no real fantasy outlook for them because of who is ahead of them. So moving up to the C tier here, a little more opportunity. These are the teams that they probably have a pretty clear starter that they're going to run with for 2026 at least. But there's a little bit of an opening here. You could argue some of the teams on this list, the Colts, the Seahawks with Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, should be in that D tier, a franchise quarterback fully locked in for the future. But I don't think teams are that confident yet in these quarterbacks that have turned it around of late, especially with their ceiling in the playoffs. I wouldn't be too surprised to see one of those teams add even maybe just a day 2 quarterback to let sit behind, develop behind that quarterback for a year. And if things do take a turn for Darnold or Jones, they can't make any noise in the playoffs, they choke in the playoffs again in Darnold's case, then having that backup rookie quarterback, they could have a future in that starting role. And obviously it is so important with these quarterbacks, landing spots, what the opportunity is. It's really the driving factor here. If you don't have a chance to start, you can't score fantasy points at quarterback. Now moving up to the B tier here, this is where there are some pretty clear openings at quarterback on the team, but less than ideal situations for a rookie to be entering into. Particularly the Steelers and the Jets here. The Steelers always seem to cobble things together enough, but there's just not a whole lot of weapons from a fantasy perspective to really help out a young rookie passer joining the team. They are one of the teams in this tier, though, that I could see moving up if they make an investment at wide receiver for the future. Now, the Jets are destined to be in this spot. Obviously, whoever they draft at quarterback is in the running to start year 1 because of just how desperate they are for a starting quarterback, a future franchise quarterback. But just not a whole lot of weapons there. Maybe Mason Taylor, he's looking okay as their new tight end of the future, and you have Garrett Wilson, but just so many holes on that offense and just not a whole lot of confidence in that coaching staff there in New York. But the Dolphins here in this tier, they're a little interesting. You'd think maybe they'd be down in the D tier because they have Tua under such a big contract. But I think that the supporting cast there is enough of a tier up from those other teams in the tier below, in the C tier, that I would consider the Dolphins' landing spot to be a little better. I don't think Tua has a great grasp on the starting job anymore. And I think with Waddle and Achane there, there's some really key weapons for an incoming quarterback to benefit from. Okay, moving up to the A tier here, these are just the spots that I'm happy to see a quarterback land with from a fantasy perspective, somewhere where it's not going to hurt their value, kind of the standard where you'd expect them to fall. First here are the Cardinals. Now, I have some questions about this coaching staff and whether this team is really well coached enough to let a new quarterback come in and succeed right away, but they do have great weapons. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride are a great 1-2 punch for any rookie quarterback incoming, and Jacoby Brissett has looked very good as the quarterback filling in here for Kyler Murray, showing that there is some potential in this team to have a good quarterback for fantasy. The second here, I have the Browns. This may surprise some people. Some people may still have the Browns in their head as more like a Jet situation, and I totally understand. At wide receiver, there's not a whole lot there. I really like Cedric Tillman. I think he's very underrated, but still the wide receiver room is very weak. Luckily, Harold Fannin has joined this team, and he's essentially a wide receiver that just has the tight end label on him. But they also have a lot of draft capital here in Cleveland because of that Travis Hunter trade, the trade for the number 2 pick last year with Jacksonville, and they could add more wide receiver talent, more pass catching talent to this team. Now, what really makes me happy about the Browns as a landing spot for a quarterback, more so than other people seem to think of them, is Kevin Stefanski. I still think he is a very good offensive mind in this league, and I think his job should be pretty safe. If they do keep Stefanski, I would be happy with a first-round quarterback going to the Browns, and I would move them up my boards for fantasy. Now, last here's the Raiders. They have a very interesting situation. I do not think that Chip Kelly was a good choice for offensive coordinator, and their wide receiver room is pretty barren now, especially with Jacoby Myers gone. But you have some elite young talent to build around in Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers, who are both very good pass catchers. Genty out of the backfield, Bowers out of that tight end spot. So I think they're, especially when you have a competent head coach in Pete Carroll, I don't think that the lack of wide receiver talent and the OC, the play calling issues, leave a long-term issue for this team. I think there is more potential to build something, a really good offense here than there are with a lot of other teams in the NFL looking for a quarterback. All right, I might take some flack for these elite tier teams that I am listing here at the top tier for quarterback landing spots, but go ahead and listen, hear me out, and let me know in the comments if you just totally disagree. But first I have here are the Saints. I think Kellen Moore is a great play caller in the NFL. He's not quite as proven as some of the other great minds, McVay, Shanahan, those kind of guys, but he's done very well in multiple different styles of systems at multiple stops. Led that great Cowboys offense, the Eagles offense last year. He was the offensive coordinator for. Even had a high-powered Chargers offense that dealt with a lot of injuries, and then their defense was horrendous. But at every stop, he's elevated his offenses, and I think he's doing that again with the Saints here. There is not a lot of talent on this team. Honestly, nothing about this landing spot is about the talent around. It is a coaching staff consideration with Kellen Moore. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for Kellen Moore to build a really good offense here for the Saints. And there are some building blocks. Chris Olave, I think, is separated as a clear wide receiver 1 in the NFL. A very good wide receiver, just hasn't had the quarterback play to hold him up for fantasy or really even in NFL discourse to be considered a top wide receiver. But I think as soon as you give him someone that's not Spencer Rattler or that level of a talent, then we're going to see Chris Olave really flourish. Juwan Johnson has also had a breakout season as a pass catcher, and I think he could feature into this offense as well. But what I'm looking here at in New Orleans is really 2027. I don't know that in their first year, a rookie quarterback's going to play too well with the Saints offense, just the lack of talent around them. But give some time for Moore to implement this system and surround that quarterback with a little more talent. And I think that this offense could be one of the better offense, one of the more explosive offenses in the NFL, with Moore leading the way. All right, last team here, and probably the top landing spot that I'm looking for a quarterback in this draft is Los Angeles Rams. And it's very weird because Matt Stafford is there. You'd think, oh, no, there's no opportunity for a quarterback to take over. Why would you consider the Rams to be a top spot? Well, Sean McVay, Puka Nacua. Matt Stafford is old enough. He's getting towards the end of his career. And even if he plays one more season, I think that's a plus for a young quarterback to sit behind Matt Stafford, to sit on the bench with Stafford and learn from him and see him play through a full NFL season. And I would be very willing to let my rookie quarterback sit on my taxi squad even for a year, knowing that when they do take over that starting role, when Matt Stafford does choose to retire, Sean McVay is their play caller and Puka Nacua is their wide receiver one. That is just a combination that you cannot get anywhere else. One of the best in the NFL situations for a quarterback to come into. And I think having that opportunity to sit behind Stafford, hopefully for a year in his last season of his career, what I expect it to be, can really help that quarterback build up and seamlessly fill into that starting role when Stafford does retire. Now that's the breakdown of the landing spots for the 2026 Dynasty Rookie class. If you want more content on the 2026 Dynasty Rookies, the actual players that are going to be in this draft, we already have a ton of content on the channel, so go ahead, check that out, subscribe to the channel for more as the offseason grows closer. And that's really when us Dynasty players thrive, right? All of us rebuilders, we love this draft season, and we bring all of that content to you.